We have with us this afternoon Mr. Cecil Dowdy here in Byrdstown, Tennessee, and we're going to do an interview with Cecil. He's going to give us some information on his life in the area here in Byrdstown. We'll start with, why don't you tell us your name and your parents' name and your children's name?
Cecil Charity Pickens Dowdy.
And your mom and dad's name were?
S.P. Dowdy and Mary Pickens.
Was it Pittman or Pickman?
Pittman.
Pittman. Okay, yep, we got that. And they were married very early in life, you said. About what? How old?
The day she, there I go again.
Well, it was, what, 16, 17?
She was 16 and just got through the 8th grade out here at Greenbrier, and she wasted the water, which our spring out there was way over the hill, and she wasted water so she could go get a bucket of water at a certain time, and Dad was with the preacher and they got married. And it took her brothers about 3 or 4 days to find out where she went and what.
Are you serious?
No, I'm serious.
They kind of eloped down by the water, huh?
They eloped up toward Jamestown.
Oh my goodness. All right. And together they had what, 7 children?
10.
10. All right, and you are
6 girls and 4 boys, and I'm number 7.
you're number 7.
And the oldest one living today.
The oldest living. Did all 10 children survive?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cecil, you ended up going into the Air Force pretty young, weren't you?
Yes. I was going to school over in Byrdstown in the old 8th grade building, and I got to where we had one school bus in the Pickett County area.
Oh my.
And I was the first one to be picked up, and I had to walk to the Greenbrier Road to get picked up. And that was, I was on the first run, and when I got to Byrdstown, about 6:30 or 7 o'clock, then I was over there until about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and I was the last run the bus had then. And many of the day I have left school at the time school come out and got home and worked over here on the farm driving a pair of mules for several hours, but until it got so dark I had to go to the barn and milk the cows. And
you said also that you did some work even before you went to school.
well, I did. I had to do. I had to milk the cows and get breakfast. I was the cook there for
a while.
several, quite a while.
Wow.
A few years.
Wow. And you also mentioned feeding the chickens and the turkeys and
Well, yeah, I raised chickens and turkeys.
And ducks and everything.
Geese, you name it, I had them.
So you were here on this, it was a fairly big farm right here at that time, wasn't it?
About 120-something acres.
Oh my goodness. So what kind of crops did you raise?
Mainly corn for cornbread. And
For your own purpose,
yeah, and for hay and stuff to feed the animals.
Okay, so you really lived from your produce and from the
Right.
crops you planted and everything.
Yeah.
Well, Tell me about the time you had appendicitis and it caught you out in the field
Well,
there.
I was in the field cutting hay, and my sister, 3 years older than me, came over, and I said, I just can't ride this anymore. And she got on the mower and finished mowing that plot. And by that time, she said, you've got to go to the doctor. And I didn't know where to go, but it just happened that Dad got home early. He worked on the highway, and he said, well, I don't know. He had the old one-seated Model A car, and that we knew that the doctor that did surgery was
In Glasgow?
down, well, the closest was in Glasgow.
Okay.
So a guy in Static hooked up his old car and drove me over there. And they didn't operate that night. They did the first thing the next morning
Oh my.
to take my appendix out.
Okay. Did your mom and dad go with you or did you go by yourself?
No, I went by myself.
You went by yourself and you were 12 years old?
Dad said, well, I was old to my age.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about when you got electricity along here.
I was 16-year-old when we got our first speck of electricity, and everybody on the road or in the Greenbrier area that got a refrigerator or a stove, electric stove, let it sit on the porch so everybody could see it before they took it in the house and hooked it up.
Because they were proud of it, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, they were really somebody.
Okay. And you mentioned the drinking water from the spring up here. Tell me about that with the gourd for people to take drinks.
Well, they walked through here for a shortcut going to the post office in Huntersville. And we, of course, by the time they walked in the summertime down to where the spring was, they were thirsty. So everybody that come through would take that gourd, dip them up with a gourd full of
Full of water, huh?
water and drink it.
You didn't worry about drinking after one another, did you?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Of course, I didn't know what a germ was either.
Oh, goodness. Let me look here. Tell us about your first job. What was it that you said you were skimming foam off of the molasses?
Foam off a molasses pan from about 3:30 in the morning till about 7 at night.
Whoa.
But by that time, my younger brother was old enough that if I got him off the lake in time, he'd do the work feeding Otherwise, he was in even before school was out, he was spending most of his time on the lake instead of in school.
Was he? Oh, was he fishing or just having
Swimming,
fun?
just having fun.
Having fun. Okay.
Yeah.
But you said you were paid $3 a day, or what was it?
$3 a day
That
to
was
stand
pretty good
over
money,
a
wasn't it?
hot. It was
Yeah,
a lot
very
more
good.
money than we.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was quite a bit.
but that was 18-hour days. You said too.
Well, yeah.
Long days.
Yeah.
Okay. How about your first car that you had, or that when you drove?
That was Dad's
Uh-huh.
one-seated Model A car. When he drove, we took a tobacco stick and propped up the trunk of the car, and us kids got in the trunk, and him and Mom usually sat in the seat.
Well, was that one of the first cars in the area here?
There was, I can remember about 3 cars, and there wasn't more than 12 cars in the whole county of Peckett County.
It's pretty impressive to have had one of the first cars. Yeah. When would that have been?
Well, Dad was a mechanic, and that would have been back in the 35 or 40.
35, 40. Uh-huh. You said gas was how much per gallon?
I bought it for 10 cents a gallon. I'd have to get out of the car and take a crank and crank a 10-gallon jug of gasoline up in the top of the pump, and then as you put it in the car, gradually come down, and you could tell whether you had two gallons in it or 3.
You mentioned about the doctor making rounds on a horse.
Yeah, Mom was very sick when I was born, and was several years later, and the doctor made his rounds once a week riding his old horse. See how she was doing and giving us a rundown on her.
What, if you were sick, what did you do for medicines, or did you just do home remedies, or what?
Well, we had very, very few doctors and less
Gross or Bertram or?
I don't know.
Okay, but he came around, huh?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people use kind of home remedies. They had the doctor themselves.
Well, we did
Yes.
we did do that too. We used to get out and gather up herbs for grandmother to make our
Poultice?
poultice. Yeah, and
Yeah. What did you do for fun when you were little?
anything we could.
All right, maybe we won't go there, but you told me you played kick the can and
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that.
That's
huh?
when we had a bunch of kids, visiting on the weekend maybe or whatever.
Okay. So you spent a lot of time outside?
Well,
Well, I
yeah,
know you worked outside.
yeah.
All the time.
We
yes.
was on.
How about the time that you were in service? Didn't you mention to me that you went down and signed up and left that day? Is that
Well,
right?
I probably did. I tried to sign up, and they said, no, you can't do it. You got to go to Nashville and sign up.
Oh, okay.
And I already had my papers drafted. They drafted me. And before I had to report to the draft board to go, I thought, now I'm not going to the Army, I'm going to the Air Force. So I went to the Air Force, hitchhiked to Nashville, and instead of coming back home like I thought I would do, I had no extra clothes, no nothing. And they stuck me on the doggone train and sent me to San Antonio, Texas.
No kidding.
Sure did.
Oh, and you stayed in how many years?
Almost 21.
Show us your stripes there, right here. That's, well,
Well, I can't tell you what they.
these can you hold it so we can see it? Yeah. This is some of his decorations from the military. He achieved quite a lot of success. Did a lot of medical work in the military. Ran hospitals.
Yeah.
He was probably a nurse practitioner before we even had nurse practitioners. Yeah. So, I have a couple more questions here for you. Can you remember, was there a church around here that you went to, or
Locust Grove?
Locust Grove,
Yeah.
huh? Okay. There's a cemetery there at Locust Grove now.
Yes,
isn't
there
there?
is.
And church. Uh-huh.
Dad and Mom, no, they're not. Her dad and mother
Are
is
buried there.
buried down
Your
there.
wife, uh-huh.
And
Okay.
there are quite a few of the Staley family
Okay.
that married into the Dowdy family.
That your mother's family's buried there, not your wife. Your wife was from the
Right.
north, right? From
Right.
Indiana? Okay.
Right.
Okay, gotcha on that.
I met her at the drive-in theater one night.
Up there in Peru, Indiana, or somewhere?
In Peru, Indiana.
You were at Bunker Hill?
And she had a bunker, yeah. She had a Volkswagen car, and I had a little Dolphin remote. I saw her take off up the street, and I took off in behind her, and by golly, I chased her till she caught me.
Oh, and you were married quite a few years, weren't you?
About 65, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let me ask you, in terms of life when you were young and life nowadays, do you think we've lost anything in the way we do life or look at life, or any words there?
I don't know.
Okay.
We had a rough life, but at least the kids had enough to do at home that they wasn't out here cruising and trying to shoot somebody out of the car or
Okay.
like they're doing today. They do. I don't know. It's just been a heck of a change that.
Do you have any words of wisdom to offer?
Not
Any political words of wisdom?
Well, doing the family tree, I discovered that my grandpa had 50 plus kids, and everybody belongs to somebody, but only mother knows part of the time.
Whoa, that's, I'm not sure we should part on that, but we will, I think. I do have one question, though.
I might add, at this time, in Grandpa's time, the population of this area, according to the census, was 10 women for every man.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, because so many of them got killed down here in the South and so forth. That was just research that I found
In the late 1800s,
back years ago.
1890, somewhere. Interesting. Interesting. Now, the lady that was a midwife, Suze Dowdy, is she your relation?
That was my grandmother.
That was your grandmother.
Yes. She had eight kids, and she gathered them all up about 2 weeks before she died. And while they was all standing around her bed, she says, "I don't know what you kids have been told, but I'll tell you one thing. I wasn't married, but every one of you are full brother and sister."
Okay. All right.
So that,
There you go. Let me look at my papers to see if there's anything else I want to ask you, or anything you can think of to tell us here.
no, I can't really.
Do you have a fond memory or a happy memory that we can close with, something that's been very special to you?
Yeah, my young life.
Your young life, huh? That's a good one.
Only 86-year-old.
86 years young.
Yes.
Tell us how old one of your relatives was, Wesley.
He died at 102.
And your sister died at how old? Was it your sister that?
She died at 96, and at the time, the day before she died, she walked 4 miles, 2 of the morning and 2 in the evening, with 2 other ladies that was living there wanting to exercise too.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
It's, well, Cecil, you have given a lot to our country, to this area. You're a very active participant in the community center. You're good at bingo. You play pig.
Yeah.
So, pretty awesome. All right. Well, we thank you very much for
Okay.
doing the interview.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. You're welcome.
Now, have you got time to go for a ride?
Yes.